Europe aims to kill gasoline and diesel cars by 2035. London Business. The European Union has announced plans to end the sale of polluting vehicles by 2035, an ambitious goal that would put hybrid cars on the endangered species list and usher in a rapid and dramatic shift to fully electric models. The European Commission said Wednesday that it wants to require the auto industry to slash the average emissions of new cars by 55% by 2030. A further reduction to 100% by 2035 effectively means that all new cars registered from that year onward must be zero-emission vehicles. The new 2030 goal would be a significant leap from the current EU target of cutting emissions from new cars by 37.5%, which was only set in December 2018. The proposed rule changes are part of a much larger package aimed at propelling the European Union towards each goal of cutting greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030 compared to 1990 levels. Europe wants to be the first continent to be climate neutral in 2050. The fossil fuel economy has reached its limit. We want to leave the next generation a healthy planet as well as good jobs and growth that does not hurt our nature, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said in a statement. To facilitate a shift to electric cars, the Commission said it required the 27 EU member states to expand the vehicle charging capacity. Charging point will be installed every 60 kilometers, 37.3 miles on major highways, and the minimum tax rate for gasoline and diesel fuel will be hiked. This is a turning point for the auto industry and good news for drivers, said William Dodd, the executive director of lobby group Transport and Environment. The new EU rules will democratize the electric cars and give them major boost to charging. The auto industry plays a vital role in Europe's economy, accounting for 7% of gross domestic product and supporting 14.6 million jobs in the region. But transport is the only sector where greenhouse gas emissions are rising, and road vehicles account for 21% of carbon dioxide emissions in 2017. Car makers have seen the writing on the wall, and many have announced ambitious plans in recent months to increase the production of electric vehicles. Investors have rewarded the most ambitious companies by boosting their share prices. Volkswagen, which owns brands including Audi and Porsche, said Tuesday that it wants electric vehicles to account for 50% of each sales by 2030. By 2040, Europe's largest carmaker plans to sell only zero-emission vehicles in each major market, which includes the United States and China. Ford has announced the plan to sell only electric passenger vehicles in Europe by 2030. Leonard, Volvo, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz owner Daimler have outlined their own programs to boost the production of cleaner cars. Still, many car makers will need to accelerate their plans to meet the EU target, which are among the world's most aggressive, in order to balance out the emissions generated in 2030 by vehicles with internal combustion engines, including hybrid. car makers will need to sell lots of electric cars. This target should not come as a surprise to car makers, although they clearly require an accelerated shift towards the battery electric vehicles over time, Barclay analyst wrote in a recent research note. The pace of change demanded by regulators matters to car makers because they plan to use profit from sales of gas and diesel vehicles to fund the research and development of electric vehicles. Volkswagen finance chief Arno Antelich said on Tuesday that the company's internal combustion engine business would help to generate the profit and cash flow needed to pay for investment in software, autonomous driving and production platforms for electric vehicles. Volkswagen has earmarked €73 billion, $86 billion through 2025 to develop the technology. It could be years before the EU rules come into force. The plan needs to be read, amended, and approved by lawmakers in the EU Parliament and the EU Council, the forum in which the elected leaders of each member state debate each matter. Britain announced last year that it would ban sales of new gasoline and diesel cars starting in 2030, which sales of some new hybrids continuing until 2035. Still, time is of the essence. Dot said car makers must move quickly to help solve the climate crisis. The problem is car makers will only have to start selling those cleaner cars in 2030. Our planet cannot afford another 9 years of big talk but little action from the auto industry, he said.